In the previous life, the little son Zhu Jiang died in a wealthy family, while the gloomy me was returned by an ordinary family. We both ended up in despair. In this reincarnated life, we swapped lives. She took my place in that seemingly kind family, and I stepped into that ruthless wealthy family in her stead. This time, we all must live well. In my previous life, I was called Lila Yun, and he was called Zhu Jiang. We were both children that no one wanted in the orphanage. Later, we were adopted at the same time. Zhu Jiang, true to her name, shines as brightly as summer, like a little sun. She was adopted by a seemingly cold and stern couple and entered that gilded cage. In the end, she leaped from the high-rise, and the sun fell. As for me, I am gloomy, reclusive, and not one to talk much. I was chosen by a middle-aged couple who seemed kind and amiable. They said they would love me as if I were their own daughter, but in less than a year, I was returned. The reason given was that I was too gloomy, unaffectionate, and like a stone that couldn't be warmed. After being returned, I faced even more severe isolation and bullying at the welfare home, ultimately following in Zhu Jiang's footsteps. In the final moments before my consciousness faded, I wondered, if Zhu Jiang and I had swapped places, would the outcome have been different? And then, I truly got a second chance. I returned to the day we were 12, the day our fates took a turn. In the director's office of the welfare home, Zhu Jiang nervously gripped my hand, her palm completely sweaty. Her sparkling eyes were filled with anxiety as she whispered to me, "Lila, I'm a little scared. That uncle and aunt look so serious. Do you think their family has a lot of rules?" I looked at her, and my heart felt as if it were being tightly squeezed by an invisible hand. In my previous life, she asked me the same question. What did I say at that time? I said, "Don't be afraid. They look wealthy. You'll have a good life once you go there." Unlike me, the family I went to seemed ordinary. As a result, my ordinary family, with love named for your own good, sent me back to hell, and her good days were bought with depression and life. How ridiculous. In this life, I held her hand in return, feeling the warmth of her palm. The feeling of rebirth was so unreal. Only her warmth reminded me that everything was still possible. Zhu Jiang, seeing that I hadn't spoken, thought I was also uneasy and comforted me instead. "Lila, don't be afraid. Uncle Lin and Aunt Wang seem really kind. You'll definitely live a very happy life." The Uncle Lin and Aunt Wang she mentioned were the couple who had given up on adopting me in my previous life. Kind, I sneered inwardly. Their kindness comes with a purpose. It demands something in return. When they realized I wasn't the obedient and sensible daughter they imagined, that kindness turned into the most hurtful blade. As for the Jiyu family that Zhu Jiang is about to enter, that cold, rigid household, it was the very family that drove her to her death in her previous life. The Jiyu family needed a tool for an arranged marriage to secure an heir, or perhaps, a pretty doll to display at home as a symbol of their charity. Zhu Jiang's sunny disposition, in that household, would only be seen as an untimely disturbance, ultimately to be ruthlessly extinguished. But what about me? I was always just a stone. A stagnant pool of water. They want a quiet, unnoticeable doll. Then I am simply the best candidate. I don't need their love. I don't need their attention. I just need a place to survive, as long as I can live, and see Zhu Jiang live well. A thought grew wildly in my mind, breaking through the surface. Zhu Jiang seemed to notice my unusual behavior. She tilted her head and looked at me with some concern. "Lila, what's wrong?" Footsteps echoed in the hallway. It was the director and the two couples. They were coming to take someone away. "Time is running out." I took a deep breath, looked into Zhu Jiang's eyes, and said word by word, "Jude, let's swap." Zhu Jiang was stunned, her eyes wide open. "Swap? Swap what?" "Swap families." My voice was soft but unusually firm. "You go to the Lin family, and I'll go to the Jiyu family." Zhu Jiang was completely bewildered, and she instinctively shook her head. "No, no, Lila, that couple from the Jiyu family, they look so intimidating. I don't feel at ease letting you go. The uncle and aunt from the Lin family are so nice. You should go to a family like that." She's still like this, always putting others first. My heart ached with tenderness, and I held her hand even tighter. "Jude, listen to me." I had to convince her in the shortest time possible. Do you think I'm like a little son? She shook her head. Then what kind of daughter do you think Uncle Lin and Aunt Wang want? I guided her. They seem so warm, so full of laughter. What they want is a child who can laugh with them and make the family atmosphere more lively. That person is you, not me. Zhu Jiang's mouth opened slightly, as if he was thinking about what I said. And the Jiyu family, I continued, their home is so quiet, so serious. What they want might just be a child who is equally quiet and doesn't cause them any trouble. Jude, you'd feel stifled there. But me, I've never been much of a talker anyway, so I'm the perfect fit. I couldn't tell her the truth about my past life. It would be too cruel, and she wouldn't believe me anyway. I could only try to persuade her with the most logical reasoning. But Jude still hesitated. What if they bully you at the GU family? Why would they bully me? I calmly retorted. A foster daughter who doesn't cry, doesn't make a fuss, doesn't fight or compete, making them almost unaware of her existence. What is there to bully, Jude? Trust me. This is the best choice for both of us. Footsteps had already reached the door. Zhu Jiang's face was full of struggle. I knew she was afraid, worried for me. I steeled myself and played my trump card. Jude, have you forgotten that I was returned once? I made that up. But for those of us who grew up in an orphanage, desperately longing for a family, being sent back is the most terrifying curse. Zhu Jiang indeed turned pale. That family said I was too quiet, like a mute. So they didn't want me anymore. I lowered my eyes. My voice carried a hint of just the right amount of vulnerability. The Lin family is a lot like that family. I'm afraid I'll be sent back again. Jude, I don't want to be sent back again. Zhu Jiang's heart was in complete turmoil. She knew better than anyone what the words being sent back meant to me. She looked at me, her eyes reddening. The doorknob turned. The director walked in with two couples. The GU families Jiu Weidong and Su Wn, the man stern and the woman aloof, dressed in high-end tailored suits and an elegant gown, seemed out of place in this small office. The Lin families Lin Zhongwo and Wang Xiumei, all smiles, appeared warm and friendly. Are you kids ready? The dean asked with a smile. 4 pairs of eyes, too cold and too gentle, simultaneously fell upon us. Zhu Jiang suddenly looked up. She glanced at Jiu Weidong and his wife, then at Lin Zhongwo and his wife. Before finally fixing her gaze on my face, she took a deep breath. As if she had made some kind of decision, before I could speak, she rushed ahead to Lin Zhongwo and Wang Xiumei, flashing an incredibly bright smile. Hello, uncle and auntie, my name is Zhu Jiang. Wang Xiumei's eyes instantly lit up, and she delightedly grabbed Zhu Jiang's hand. Oh my, so you're Jude, you're so adorable, like a little son. Lin Zhongwo also showed a satisfied smile. As for me, I silently stepped in front of Jiu Weidong and Su Wn. I did not smile or speak. Only giving a slight bow. Jiu Weidong's brow furrowed almost imperceptibly, as if puzzled by the mismatch between the name on the adoption list and the person before him. Su Wan's gaze lingered on my face for a second before shifting away, as if I were just an inanimate decoration. The director was also taken aback. He glanced at the documents in his hand. Is there a mistake, Mr. and Mrs. Jiu? The one you chose should be Zhu Jiang, Mr. and Mrs. Lin. You selected Lila Yun. The atmosphere instantly became somewhat awkward. Wang Xiumei, holding on to Zhu Jiang, looked at me with some confusion, and Jiu Weidong, a man who is decisive in the business world, looked at me directly for the first time, with scrutiny and displeasure in his gaze. I knew that success or failure hinged on this moment. I have to make them accept this mistake. There is no mistake. I spoke up, my voice not loud but clear enough in the quiet office. All eyes are on me. Facing Jiu Weidong's scrutinizing gaze, I calmly said, Jude and I discussed and agreed on it. Was this agreed upon? Jiu Weidong's tone carried a hint of mockery, as if he were listening to a joke. Is adoption just child's play? Beside him, Su Wn remained silent, but a trace of impatience was evident in her beautiful eyes. I could sense Zhu Jiang's nervousness. She was clutching Wang Xiumei's sleeve, and her palms were surely sweating again. I can't let her be afraid, Mr. Gu, Mrs. Gu. I turned to them, slightly bowing my head, adopting a very humble posture. I know this request is quite presumptuous, but Jude, she has a lively personality and enjoys being around excitement. Uncle Lin and Auntie Wang's family atmosphere is more suitable for her. Then, I turned to the Lin couple and continued, as for me, I'm more quiet and not very talkative. I'm afraid that after going, I might disappoint Uncle and Aunt. These words were spoken flawlessly, both praising the Lin family and explaining the motivation behind our exchange. It also subtly played the sympathy card, hinting at her own unlikable personality. Wang Xiaomei was soft-hearted. After hearing my words and seeing Zhu Jiang, who was smiling like the sun beside her, her heart immediately tilted in our favor. Oh, this. She looked somewhat embarrassed as she glanced at the dean and the Jiu family couple. I think the children's own wishes are quite important too, don't you think? Lin Zhongwo didn't say anything, but it was clear that he also preferred the lively and cheerful Zhu Jiang. Now, all the pressure was on the Jiu family. Jiu Weidong's expression was very unpleasant. As someone with an extremely strong desire for control, he hated nothing more than having his plans disrupted, especially by two children. He looked at me coldly, as if trying to see right through me with his gaze. Reason. He uttered just 2 words, sparing with his speech. I know that the explanation I just gave to the Lins won't fool him. I take a deep breath, raise my head, and look directly into his eyes. Mr. Jiu, I've seen your news. You're a big-time businessman. Your time is precious. And you don't like dealing with troublesome matters. I speak slowly, but clearly. Zhu Jiang is like a little sun. She needs a lot of attention and love to keep shining. If she doesn't get it, she will quickly wither. That is a kind of trouble. Jiu Weidong's eyes flickered slightly, and I pointed at myself. I'm a stone. I don't need attention. I don't need love. I just need a place to be. I won't cry. I won't make a fuss. I will strictly abide by all the rules of your household. And I will never cause you or your wife any trouble. My only goal is to grow up safely and successfully. The office was dead silent. The director and the Lin couple were stunned, probably having never seen a 12-year-old speak like this. Zhu Jiang's eyes were red, and she wanted to say something. But I stopped her with a look. Su Wan, the woman who had always been like a background character, looked at me directly for the first time, her eyes carrying a hint of an indescribable curiosity. Jiu Weidong stared at me for a full half-minute. I could feel the low pressure emanating from him, almost suffocating, but I couldn't back down. This is my only chance. Finally, he spoke, his voice devoid of emotion. What's your name? Lila Yun. Good, he nodded, turning to the director. She's the one. Process the paperwork now. After saying that, he didn't even glance at me again, as if the decision he had just made wasn't about a major life event but rather like buying something trivial. The heavy boulder that had been hanging in my heart finally settled. Success. I didn't need to look at Zhu Jiang to sense her relief, followed by genuine happiness. She took Wang Xiaomei's hand and skipped away happily. Before leaving, she turned back and gave me a determined mouthing of the words, Lila, go for it. I nodded slightly. Jude, in this lifetime, you must be happy. And I am about to step into my battlefield. The Jiu family's car is a black Bentley, with a license plate that has several 8s. The driver respectfully opened the car door, and I followed Su Wan inside. Jiu Weidong sat in the passenger seat. From the moment we got in the car, no one said a word. The car was eerily quiet, with only the faint sound of the air conditioning. Su Wan sat beside me, exuding a pleasant cool fragrance, but her demeanor was as aloof as her perfume. She carried an air of distance that kept strangers at bay, her gaze fixed out the window as if I didn't exist at all. Jiu Weidong, meanwhile, was on a phone call, speaking in business jargon I couldn't understand, his tone decisive and authoritative. I shrank into the corner, doing my best to make myself as inconspicuous as possible. This was everything Zhu Jiang had faced in his previous life, endless silence, bone-chilling indifference. No wonder she became depressed. How could someone who craves warmth and sunshine survive being thrown into the glacier of Antarctica? But I can. I was born of the winter. The car drove for a long time and eventually entered a heavily guarded villa area. The gate slowly opened, revealing a massive, castle-like villa before my eyes. This was the Jiu family's residence. After the car came to a stop, a middle-aged man wearing a suit vest, with his hair impeccably groomed, came forward to greet us. "Sir, madam, welcome back." He respectfully opened the car door. "Uncle Lee, this is Lila Yoon. She will be living here from now on." Ji-Yu Weidong introduced her succinctly before heading straight into the house. Su Wn also got out of the car and said to me the first words I heard after entering the Ji-Yu household, "Follow me," silently. I followed behind them and stepped into this resplendent cage. The house was astonishingly large, decorated in a cool-toned European style, with crystal chandeliers reflecting a cold, gleaming light. The polished marble floors were so glossy they mirrored one's reflection, exuding an aura of extreme luxury, yet utterly lifeless. A dozen servants stood in 2 neat rows, bowing in unison, "Good evening, sir and madam." This spectacle was even more exaggerated than what you'd see on television. Uncle Lee, the butler, handed me a pair of slippers and then took out a folder. "Miss Lila, these are the house rules that the master and madam have set for you. There are 36 rules in total. Please make sure to memorize all of them within 3 days." I took the folder and opened it for a look. Densely packed. All rules: you must get up at 6:30 a.m. sharp, breakfast is at 7:00 a.m. on the dot. And the meal must not exceed 20 minutes. No noise or talking is allowed during meals. Be in bed by 9:30 at night. Do not enter the master and mistress's room or the study without permission. Do not touch any of the decorations in the house without authorization. I skimmed through the lines quickly, feeling completely indifferent. These rules are shackles for Zhu Jiang, but for me, they're just instructions. Just follow them. Simple. Got it? Uncle Lee asked. Got it. I closed the folder. Mr. Lee seemed a bit surprised by my calmness, but he didn't ask further. He just nodded and said, "Your room is at the end of the 2nd floor. I'll take you there." I followed him up the spiral staircase. The carpet beneath my feet was thick and soft, making no sound as I stepped on it. The 2nd floor was long, and my room was at the very end, far from the master bedroom. The room is very large, 10 times bigger than the dormitory I had at the orphanage. And it has its own bathroom and walk-in closet. The decor is a pink princess style, clearly designed specifically for the adopted daughter. But this shade of pink feels particularly ironic in this cold, unwelcoming home. "Miss Lila, your luggage has been put away. Dinner starts at 6:30. Please come downstairs on time." After saying this, Uncle Lee bowed and stepped out. The door closed, and the whole world fell silent. I walked to the huge floor-to-ceiling window and looked out at the meticulously trimmed garden. It was beautiful, but like a lifeless specimen. "Welcome to the cage, Lila Yoon," I said to myself, "but it's okay. This time, I'm not a prisoner. I'm here to lie low." At 6:25, I arrived at the restaurant on time. The long dining table was already set with exquisite tableware. Ji-Yu Weidong and Su Wn were already seated at the head of the table. My seat was arranged at the far end of the table, quite a distance from them. At 6:30, dinner began promptly. Western cuisine, steak. The servants served the dishes one by one, silently. In the entire dining room, there was only the faint sound of knives and forks clinking against the plates. I imitated their way, cutting the steak into small bites and chewing slowly, not making a single sound. I ate quickly because the rules stated that mealtime should not exceed 20 minutes. By the time I finished, Ji-Yu Weidong and Su Wn were still eating at a leisurely pace. I put down my knife and fork, sitting quietly in place, waiting. Just then, an arrogant voice came from the stairwell. "Oh, you actually brought one back." I looked up. A teenager wearing a trendy t-shirt, with hair dyed grey, was lazily leaning against the staircase railing, looking at me with a disdainful expression. He is the son of the Ji-Yu family, Ji-Yu Yanchen, in the previous life. He was also one of the catalysts for Zhu Jiang's depression, a spoiled, rebellious demon. Here, Ji-Yu Yanchen slowly descended the stairs and plopped down into the empty seat beside me, stretching his long legs out. The servant immediately stepped forward, intending to set the tableware for him. "No need. I have no appetite." He waved his hand, but his eyes remained fixed on me, not hiding his malice in the slightest. "Dad, Mom, you're quite efficient. Yesterday you talked about adoption. And today the person is already home. How much did it cost? How's the quality? Does it wag its tail? His words were harsh and unpleasant. I saw Su-wan's brows furrow from the main seat, but she didn't speak. Ji Weidong didn't even lift an eyelid, as if he hadn't heard a thing. This disregard is an indulgence of Ji Yanchen's provocative behavior. In the previous life, Zhu Jiang was brought to tears by such a remark from him. She had just arrived in a new environment and was already feeling nervous and uneasy. Humiliated by Ji Yanchen, she burst into tears on the spot. As a result, Ji Weidong coldly remarked, "The Ji family has no need for crybabies." Su Wn only gave her a faint glance and said, "Yanchen, stop fooling around," a light, weightless sentence, carrying no significance. That meal became the beginning of Zhu Jiang's nightmare. Now, it's my turn. I didn't cry, not even a change in my expression. I just watched him quietly, as if watching a clown performing a boring act. My calmness seemed to irritate Ji Yanchen quite a bit. He was probably used to everyone reacting to him, whether with fear or flattery. My indifference was like punching cotton. "Hey, cat, got your tongue?" He raised his voice, leaning forward, trying to overwhelm me with his presence. "I'm asking you a question. Can't you speak?" I finally reacted. I picked up the napkin, wiped my mouth, then looked at him and answered very seriously, "Hello, my name is Lila Yoon. I wasn't bought, I was legally adopted. I don't have a tail, so I can't wag it." My voice was flat, without any emotional fluctuation, as if stating a fact. "Phut." A young maid pouring water nearby couldn't hold back and burst into laughter. She immediately realized her indiscretion, turned pale with fright, and quickly lowered her head. "I'm sorry, sir, madam, young master, I didn't mean to." Ji Yangchen's face instantly darkened. He stood up abruptly, pointing at the maid. You're fired. Get out of here right now." The maid's tears immediately welled up, and she kept bowing and apologizing. "I'm sorry, young master, please give me another chance. My family, get out." Ji Yanchen's voice grew even louder. The atmosphere in the entire restaurant dropped to freezing point. At that moment, Ji Weidong finally put down his knife and fork. He wiped his mouth with a napkin, then lifted his eyes and looked coldly at Ji Yanchen. "Sit down." His voice was not loud, but it carried an undeniable authority. Ji Yanchen stiffened his neck, seemingly wanting to say something more, but after meeting Ji Weidong's gaze, still reluctantly, he sat back down, muttering under his breath, "Tch, how boring." Ji Weidong then looked at the maid who was on the verge of crying herself unconscious. "Uncle Lee, handle it according to the rules." "Yes, sir." The butler, Uncle Lee, stepped forward, whispered something to the maid, and then led her away. I knew that handle it according to the rules meant deducting this month's wages and then firing her. The Ji family's rules are strict and merciless. A small disturbance just passed like that. Ji Weidong and Su Wn continued their meal as if nothing had happened. And Ji Yanchen beside me kept glaring at me with a murderous look. I could feel his anger. In his view, all of this was caused by me. If it weren't for my choking reply, the maid wouldn't have laughed. And he wouldn't have lost face. I ignored him. I just sat quietly, waiting for the person at the head of the table to finish eating. After a few minutes, Ji Weidong and Su Wn finished their meal and got up to leave. From start to finish, they didn't glance at me or Ji Yanchen again. As soon as they left, Ji Yanchen immediately exploded. "Did you do that on purpose?" he asked in a low, fierce voice. "Deliberately what?" I retorted. "Deliberately to embarrass me. I was just answering your question." I looked at him with an innocent expression. "You were the one who asked if I could wag my tail." Ji Yanchen was left speechless by my reply, his handsome face flushing bright red. He probably encountered someone like me, who is immune to both persuasion and coercion. For the first time, he scolded me. And I listened. He glared at me, and I watched. I gave none of the reactions he wanted. He was so angry that he walked around the table twice, then finally pointed at me. "Fine. You're so great, Lila Yoon. Right, I'll remember you. Just you wait." After saying that, he kicked the chair with a bang and stormed upstairs. I was the only one left in the dining room, watching his disappearing figure. I felt completely unfazed. He's getting anxious. He's really anxious. This is just the beginning. Jiyu Yanchen, the pain you inflicted on Jude in the previous life, I will return it to you bit by bit, in my own way, of course, not through violence, dealing with such a spoiled brat. The best approach is to make all his tricks fail, making him feel like a fool. At night, after taking a shower, I sat at my desk and started memorizing that thick code of conduct. Actually, I had already memorized it. After being reborn, it seems my memory has improved a lot. At 9:25, I turned off the desk lamp and lay down on the bed on time. The bed was soft, and the blanket was comfortable too, but I wasn't sleepy at all. I took out the old phone issued by the orphanage. Hidden under the pillow, this is my only personal item. Power on. The signal is very weak. I sent a text message to Jude Jiang. Have you arrived? Is everything okay? I waited for a long time before they finally replied. I'm here, Lila, don't worry, Uncle Lin and Aunt Wang are super nice to me. Their house isn't very big, but it's so cozy. Aunt Wang kept holding my hand, asking me what I like to eat, and even said she'd buy me lots of pretty dresses. I feel like I'm dreaming. Every word is filled with joy. I can imagine how excited she must be right now. I smiled and replied, that's good, get some sleep early. Yeah, Lila, you too. How are the Jiyu family treating you? Are they bullying you? No, they're quiet, and I'm quiet too. It's fine. I told a lie. I don't want her to worry. Putting down my phone, I looked up at the ornate crystal chandelier on the ceiling. The light wasn't on, but the moonlight streaming through the window cast faint, shimmering reflections on it. It's wonderful. Jude is so happy in the new home. As long as she's doing well, whatever I have to endure here doesn't matter. For the next few days, I strictly followed the code of conduct in my life. I woke up at 6:30 and went to bed at 9:30. I ate without making noise and walked without making footsteps. Whenever I saw Jiyu Weidong or Su Wn, I lowered my head to greet them and then quickly disappeared. I live like a ghost in this enormous house, with a presence so faint it's almost zero. Jiyu Weidong and Su Wn seem quite satisfied with my performance, or perhaps they simply don't care. A decoration that doesn't cause trouble is the best kind of decoration. The only one who wants to cause me trouble is Jiyu Yanchen. He seems to have it out for me. On the first day, while I was downstairs eating, he locked my door from the outside. When I finished eating and went back, I found the door wouldn't open. I didn't knock on the door, nor did I call for the servant. I just quietly returned to the living room downstairs, took a book from the shelf, and sat on the sofa reading calmly. Late into the night, Jiyu Yanchen probably wanted to see me anxiously pacing around, so he sneaked downstairs, but when he saw me sitting there calmly reading, he was completely stunned. Why are you still here? He blurted out. I looked up from my book and calmly replied, the door is locked, I can't get in. Couldn't you just go and ask someone to unlock it? He said, flustered. Rule 31. After 10 p.m., noise or movement in public areas is prohibited to avoid disturbing others' rest. I recited word for word. Jiyu Yanchen's expression was as if he had swallowed a fly. He probably didn't expect that the trick he used against me would be blocked by his own parents' rules. With a dark expression, he ran upstairs, opened my door, and then slammed his own door shut with a bang. The next day, he changed his tactics. He put a slimy fake toad into my backpack. In the previous life, he used the same trick to scare Jude Jiang, making her scream, throw her backpack, and burst into tears on the spot. While organizing my backpack before school, I reached in and felt that soft, squishy thing. I took it out and took a look. The craftsmanship is quite realistic. I didn't scream, nor did I throw it away. I found a transparent jar, put it inside, and placed it on the desk. When Jiyu Yanchen came to my room to show off, expecting to see my terrified expression, I pointed at the jar and asked him very seriously, where did you buy this model? I want to get another spider and a scorpion to complete the 5 poisons collection. They'd look great on display. I'll remember the look on Jiyu Yanchen's face for the rest of my life. Shock, confusion, disbelief, and finally, sheer embarrassment and anger. He probably felt like his intelligence had been insulted. He tried to scare a coward. only to find out the other person was a pervert. After that, he kept quiet for 2 days. I guess he's brewing up some big move. I'm waiting. This game of cat and mouse is actually quite interesting. At least, it's more relaxing than dealing with those two cold adults, Gu Weidong and Su Wn. Gu Yanchen's big move came quickly, but the way it happened was beyond my expectations. It was Saturday, and I didn't have to go to the new school, so I stayed in my room reading. Gu Yanchen's school seemed to have some event, so he left early in the morning. Gu Weidong went to the company as usual, leaving only me, Su Wan, and a group of silent servants at home. At lunchtime, Su Wan, for the first time, did not eat in the dining room but had the servants bring her lunch to her art studio. I sat alone at the long dining table and quickly finished my portion. After finishing the meal, I was about to go upstairs and passed by the art studio at the end of the second-floor corridor. The door wasn't fully closed, leaving a crack. I inexplicably stopped in my tracks. In my previous life, Zhu Jiang said that Aunt Gu's art studio was a forbidden place, and no one was allowed to enter. She herself had never been inside either. She said that Aunt Jiu used to be a painter, but after marrying Mr. Jiu, she never painted again. The studio had always been locked, covered in dust, but now the door was open. I hesitated for a moment but couldn't resist my curiosity. Quietly peeking through the crack in the door, the studio is spacious with excellent lighting. It is filled with easels and various paints, but a thin layer of dust covers many items, indicating they haven't been used in a long time. Su Wn is sitting in front of a large easel. She isn't painting, just sitting quietly, staring at the blank canvas before her with empty eyes, like a soulless sculpture. The sunlight streamed through the massive floor-to-ceiling window, casting a golden glow around her, yet she radiated an overwhelming sense of sorrow and loneliness. At that moment, it suddenly struck me that she and I were somewhat alike. We were both trapped in this gilded cage. I was completely engrossed when she suddenly spoke, her voice soft, yet it exploded in my ears like a clap of thunder. Enjoying the view, I was startled, my heart jolting, and I instinctively took a step back. I've been caught. I stood at the door, not knowing where to put my hands and feet, my mind racing as I tried to figure out how to explain my spying behavior. Should I apologize, or pretend I was just passing by? The door creaked as it was pulled open from the inside. Su Wn stood before me, still wearing that distant expression, but with a hint of curiosity in her eyes. "Come in," she said. I was a bit surprised, but I obediently walked in. This was my first time entering her studio. The air was filled with the mixed scent of turpentine and paint, a bit pungent, yet somehow comforting. "Do you like painting?" she asked. I didn't know how to respond. I don't know what kind of answer she would like. If I say yes, would she think I'm trying to please her? If I say no, would she think I have no taste? After thinking it over, I chose the safest answer. "I can't draw." "I'm not asking if you can, I'm asking if you like it." Her voice seemed to carry a hint of impatience. I looked at a painting hanging on the wall, a deep blue starry sky, beautifully painted. But it felt like something was missing. "I don't know," I answered honestly. "But when I look at the painting, my heart feels very calm." Su Wn followed my gaze and looked at that starry sky painting. She remained silent for a long time, so long that I thought she wouldn't speak again. Then, she said softly, "I've been painting this piece for 10 years, and it's still not finished." I was somewhat surprised. 10 years? Why? I couldn't help but ask. "Because I can't find the brightest star anymore." Her voice was soft, as if speaking to herself. I looked at her and suddenly understood. She didn't just misplace it, she lost it. After marrying into the Gu family and becoming Mrs. Gu, she lost the once radiant version of herself. We fell into silence again. After a while, she suddenly pointed to a canvas covered with a white cloth in the corner and said, "That one, I'm giving it to you." I followed the direction she pointed and saw a small easel, with a brand new set of paints and brushes placed beside it. I was at a loss. "I don't know how to use them." "Then learn," she said calmly. "It's better than staying in your room reading like a little old lady every day." With that, she gave me the order to leave. "Go out, I want to be alone." I carried the easel and painting supplies that were somewhat heavy for me and left the studio. The moment I closed the door, I glanced back. She had returned to the blank canvas, once again becoming that sorrowful sculpture, back in my room. I set up the easel and laid out the paints and brushes one by one. I stare at the blank canvas in front of me, my mind equally blank. Why did Su Wn suddenly show me kindness? Just because I said, "It feels very peaceful inside," or is it because I look too down and she couldn't bear to see it? I can't figure it out. The adult world is too complicated. I simply stopped thinking, picked up a paintbrush, dipped it in some black paint, and smeared it randomly on the canvas. I really can't paint, but I like this feeling. Pour all those suppressed, gloomy emotions from the heart onto the canvas. As I painted, I gradually became lost in thought. By the time I came back to my senses, the entire canvas had been painted pitch black, just like my life. At that moment, the door was pushed open with a bang. Jiyu Yanchen had returned. He walked in with a displeased expression, paused for a moment when he saw the easel in front of me, and then broke into a mocking smile. "Oh, our great artist is creating. What are you painting? Some kind of scribble." He walked over, wanting to see my masterpiece. I instinctively tried to block it. That darkness was too oppressive, too real. I didn't want anyone to see the shadows in my heart, but he was faster than me, and snatched the drawing board in an instant. When he saw that pure, unadulterated black, the mockery on his face instantly froze. "Is this all you drew?" He frowned, his expression full of disdain. "Just a solid black. Are you out of your mind?" I didn't say anything, reaching out to take the drawing board back, but he didn't hand it over. Instead, turning it over and over in his hands while muttering to himself, "That's not right. This black, why does it feel a bit different?" He reached out his finger and touched the still wet paint. Then, his expression changed. "This isn't black," he exclaimed, as if he had discovered something new. I was startled. He held the drawing board up to the window, examining it carefully against the light. In the sunlight, that seemingly pure black revealed an extremely deep, almost imperceptible purple and blue. To mix this deepest black, I blended several dark pigments together. "Did you add other colors to the black?" Jiyu Yanchen turned to look at me. For the first time, there was no mockery in his eyes, but rather a peculiar light. "Why did you do this? Wouldn't it have been simpler to just use black?" "Why? Because pure darkness devours everything. Only when there is a faint glimmer of light hidden within the darkness, even if it's a similarly deep, cool-toned light, can there be hope. Just like my life, the previous life was utter darkness. In this life, because of Zhu Jiang, there is a little bit of hidden, unknown color in my darkness." Of course, I would never say these words to him. "I like it." I only said 2 words. Then took the drawing board back from his hand. Jiyu Yanchen didn't try to grab it again. He just stood there, looking at me with a complicated expression in his eyes. "Hey," he suddenly spoke, "Lila Yun, you are really strange." After saying that, he turned and left without even uttering a harsh word. I watched his retreating figure, feeling somewhat baffled. Strange? What's so strange about it? I looked down at the black painting and carefully set it aside to dry. Perhaps, in the eyes of normal people like them, someone like me, an ice block is just naturally strange. Still, being called strange by Jiyu Yanchen is better than being called mute. Is this considered progress? I don't know. I only know that the set of painting tools Su Wn gave me might become my only breath of fresh air in this cage. My life in the Jiyu family is like a stagnant pond, occasionally disturbed by Jiyu Yanchen, who acts like a stone thrown into it. It creates a few ripples, but soon returns to calm. He seems to have lost that must get rid of him at all costs kind of interest in me. Although he still throws a few sarcastic remarks when we meet, he no longer plays those childish little tricks. His biggest attack on me has turned into coming to my room every day to critique the paintings I'm working on. "What are you painting today? A pile of crap. Can you draw something more cheerful, like the sun, flowers, or little cats and dogs?" "Black again. Can't you use a different color? We have plenty of paints, not just black." I ignored him completely. I immersed myself in my own world, using the paintbrush to vent those indescribable emotions. On my drawing board, there have been withered trees, broken-winged birds, deserted ruins, all in gloomy and oppressive tones. Jiyu Yanchen would come each time grumbling and leave the same way, but the next day, he would still come. I've even gotten a little used to it. Su Wan occasionally comes to stand at the door of my room for a while, but she never enters, she never comments on my paintings, just quietly looks at them for a moment, then leaves. Between her and me, a subtle understanding has formed. We are like two wounded animals licking each other's wounds, guarding each other's solitude in silence. As for Jiyu Weidong, I hardly see him a few times a month. He is too busy and has no extra energy to spare for me, his adopted daughter. Such a life is not great for me, but it's not bad either. At least, I have survived safely, until I received Zhu Jiang's call. It was the weekend, and I was painting while Jiu Yanchen was playing games beside me, criticizing my painting skills. My old phone suddenly vibrated. It was Zhu Jiang's exclusive ringtone. I immediately put down my paintbrush and said to Jiu Yanchen, "Could you step out for a moment?" Surprisingly, Jiu Yanchen didn't argue with me for once. He just glanced at me, snorted, and got up to leave. I closed the door and answered the call. "Hello, Jude." On the other end of the phone, it wasn't Zhu Jiang's lively voice that came through, but a suppressed, quiet sobbing. My heart instantly tightened. "Jude, what's wrong? What happened?" "Lila." Her voice was thick with a nasal tone, sounding as pitiful as a child abandoned by the whole world. "Woo-woo, Lila." She was crying so hard she couldn't speak. I was frantic with worry, but I forced myself to stay calm. "Don't cry, Jude. Take your time, I'm listening." I comforted her gently. She cried for a long time before she managed to tell the story, her words broken by sobs. "Auntie," she threw away my newly bought yellow hoodie. She said that color is too flashy. Girls should wear pink and white to look gentle and quiet. She also signed me up for ballet and piano classes, but I don't like them at all. I want to learn street dance, but she said that's something only boys do, and it's improper. I ranked 5th in the class on the exam. She praised me to my face, but then turned around and said to Uncle Lin, "This child is still too playful. If she put in a bit more effort, she could definitely get first place." "Lila, if I laugh a little too loudly, she says I'm not ladylike. If I go out and have too much fun with my classmates, she says I don't act like a proper young lady." She bought me so many princess dresses, dressing me up like a doll, but I didn't like it at all. I feel like I can't breathe anymore. She always says, "I'm doing this for your own good. I want you to become better," but the good she wants isn't me at all. Today, she said my smile is too wild again, lacking depth. I couldn't help but argue with her, saying I was born to smile and I can't change it. Then she started crying, saying I broke her heart, that she's worked so hard for me, yet I show no gratitude at all. Zhu Jiang choked up. "Lila, am I really that bad? Am I really letting her down? But I'm really hurting. I feel like I'm not Zhu Jiang anymore." Listening to her sobs, my hands and feet turned ice cold, just as I suspected, just as I thought. In my previous life, the Lin couple gave up on adopting me, saying I was too gloomy and not lively enough. In this life, they are good to Zhu Jiang because she is lively and cheerful, fitting their initial setting. However, when Zhu Jiang's liveliness exceeds the scope they can control, when this little sun does not follow the orbit they have planned, they begin to feel anxious and attempt to correct her. They do not love Zhu Jiang. They love the Zhu Jiang who has been perfected by their transformation. This is a form of control more terrifying than the Jiyu family's indifference. Indifference, at the very least, is clearly priced. I trade quietness and compliance for living space, a fair exchange. But the Lin family's love is a gentle net that envelops you, praising you, then little by little they tighten it, until you're gasping for breath, and finally mold you into the shape they want. They're not raising a daughter, they're crafting a piece to satisfy their vanity. In my previous life, I was returned for not being perfect enough. In this life, Zhu Jiang is being forced to be sculpted for being too vivid. None of us are at fault. The blame lies with their selfish and obsessive love. "Jude, listen to me," I said, my voice trembling with anger, but I tried to keep it steady. "You did nothing wrong, not a single thing. Laughing a lot isn't wrong. Liking yellow isn't wrong. Wanting to learn street dance isn't wrong. You are who you are, and you are the best Zhu Jiang in the world. But Aunt Wang, she is wrong, I said firmly. Harm in the name of love hurts more than anything else. She is not loving you, she is satisfying herself. You don't need to feel sorry for her mistakes, and you certainly don't need to change yourself to please her. There was silence on the other end of the line. I could hear her trying to hold back her sobs. Lila, what should I do then? She asked blankly. I don't want to make her sad, but I don't want to go on like this anymore. What should we do? In my previous life, when faced with such a situation, I chose to suppress myself and tried hard to please. As a result, I failed. In this life, Zhu Jiang must not repeat my mistakes. Jude, you can't confront her head-on, I thought for a moment and said to her. Someone like Wang Xiaomei responds better to softness than force. If you argue with her, she'll just think you're rebellious and will only tighten her control over you. Then You need to learn to comply in public but oppose in private. I lowered my voice. On the surface, you go along with her. If she says ballet is good, you go to class, but you can secretly tell the teacher that your ligaments aren't very flexible, so you'll practice more slowly. If she says piano is good, you play, but you can just play the pieces she likes to get by. She says yellow doesn't look good, so you don't wear it in front of her. But you can keep a set of clothes you like at school and change into them when you go out. You need to make her feel that you're still under her control, that you're still that obedient good daughter. That way, she'll let her guard down. At the same time, I shifted the tone. You need to keep your own space, sneak off to learn street dance, secretly make your own friends, and quietly live the life you want. Isn't this deceiving? Zhu Jiang hesitated a bit. Jude. To deal with extraordinary people, you need extraordinary methods, I said seriously. This isn't deception, it's self-protection. Before you have the ability to leave them, you must first learn to disguise yourself and protect the fire within your heart. Never let it go out. Do you hear me? Zhu Jiang was silent for a long time on the other end. Then, in a voice that was tearful yet exceptionally resolute, she said, I hear you, Lila. I know what to do. Okay, remember, no matter what happens, you still have me. After hanging up the phone, I collapsed weakly onto the carpet. I felt both lingering fear and anger in my heart. I thought that by sending Zhu Jiang to that seemingly warm and kind family, she would find happiness. I was wrong. There is no perfect family in the world, only different forms of cages. The Jiyu family is a cold iron cage, while the Lin family is a warm cotton cage. But in essence, they are both cages. No, I can't let Jude face these alone. I have to do something. But what can I do? Right now, I'm just an insignificant adopted daughter of the Jiyu family, barely able to protect myself. What can I use to help her? A sense of helplessness washed over me. I looked at the lifeless grey ruins on the drawing board and felt such hatred for my own weakness for the first time. Just then, there was a knock on the door. It was Jiyu Yanchen. Hey, have you finished your call? All that crying and sobbing is so annoying, he shouted impatiently through the door. I ignored him. He probably grew tired of waiting and pushed the door open to come in. As soon as he entered, he saw me sitting on the floor, my face deathly pale. He paused for a moment, frowned, and said, What's wrong with you? Did someone boil you? I lifted my head and looked at him, looking at this man who was nominally my brother, the true master of the Jiyu family. A thought flashed through my mind. Wildly, perhaps, maybe he can help me. Why are you looking at me like that? Jiyu Yanchen felt uncomfortable under my gaze and took a step back. I'm telling you, I didn't bully you. You were the one crying over there. He thought I was crying. I really want to cry, but not for myself, for Zhu Jiang. But I can't cry. In the Jiyu family, tears are the most useless thing. I stood up from the ground, walked over to him, and asked very seriously, Jiyu Yanchen, I want to ask you for a favor. This is the first time I've spoken to him in such a serious tone. Jiyu Yanchen was clearly taken aback, then burst into exaggerated laughter as if he had just heard the funniest joke. You're asking me for help, Lila Yun. Are you feeling all right? I've been kind enough not to cause you trouble, and you dare ask me for help. I know this request is quite abrupt. I ignored his sarcasm and continued, but this matter, only you can help me. My expression was too serious, causing Jiu Yanchen's laughter to gradually fade. He dropped his casual demeanor, crossed his arms, and raised an eyebrow as he looked at me. Let's hear it. If it gives me a chance to laugh at you, I might consider it. My friend, the girl who swapped families with me at the welfare center last time, Zhu Jiang, she's not doing well now. I briefly told him about what Zhu Jiang had encountered at the Lin family's house. Of course, I omitted the grudges from our past lives and only mentioned the Lin couple's controlling behavior and psychological pressure on Zhu Jiang. As I spoke, I observed Jiu Yanchen's expression. At first, he had a look of amusement, but as he listened, his brows furrowed. When I finished, he scoffed. I thought it was something serious. Isn't it just that your parents are a bit strict? What parents aren't like that? I've heard it's for your own good. Since I was a kid, and my ears are calloused from it, it's different. I shook my head. Your parents just don't care about you, but they want to turn her into someone else. Jiu Yanchen curled his lips disdainfully. So what? What's it to me? She's your friend, not mine. I need to know how she's doing at her new school. I stated my purpose directly. The Lin family will definitely restrict her contact with the outside world. I need a way to keep tabs on her safety at all times. Your school is very close to hers, right? Jiu Yanchen's school is the best private high school in the city, while Zhu Jiang attends the affiliated middle school. The two schools are right next to each other, and many activities are held together. Jiu Yanchen is a prominent figure at school, with many connections and a wide network. If he is willing to help, finding information about a middle school girl would be as easy as pie. Jiu Yanchen's eyes narrowed. He finally understood my intention. You want me to be your spy, he sneered. Lila Yun, what makes you think I would help you? What do you offer me in return? I have nothing to offer you. I admitted frankly, I'm just asking you. Consider it compensation for all the times you've teased me before. Compensation. Jiu Yanchen was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, instantly flaring up. What's the big deal if I teased you? Didn't you already snap back at me? I haven't even settled the score with you yet. And now you want me to serve you hand and foot? Not a chance. His over-the-top reaction was actually within my expectations. Expecting him to show kindness was never realistic. I fell silent. The room fell into a stalemate for a moment. Jiu Yanchen glared at me, and I stared back at him. Neither of us saying a word. After a while, he probably felt it was pointless to waste time with a block of ice like me and irritably ran his fingers through his hair. All right, don't look at me like that. As if I'm some kind of irredeemable villain. He waved his hand impatiently. It's just asking for a piece of information. What's the big deal? My eyes lit up as I looked up at him. He seemed a bit uncomfortable under my gaze, turning his face away and insisting stubbornly, don't get the wrong idea. I'm not helping you. I just think that family is really disgusting and want to see what kind of trouble they can stir up, purely out of curiosity, purely out of curiosity. After saying this, as if to prove that he really was just curious, he added, when I get tired of it, I won't care anymore. I know, Hiz agreed, this two-faced guy. He clearly felt compassion in his heart, yet he had to make it sound so harsh. Thank you, I said softly. This was the first time I had sincerely thanked him. What's there to thank me for? I told you I wasn't helping you. His ears turned slightly red. He yelled angrily and then fled my room as if escaping, watching him flee in a panic. The corner of my mouth, for the first time in the Jiu family, lifted slightly beyond my control. This bully, it seems, isn't so bad after all. With Jiu Yanchen as my inside man, I could finally keep track of Zhu Jiang's movements at all times, although he wouldn't admit it verbally. His efficiency in getting things done was surprisingly high. The next day, he got Zhu Jiang's class schedule and contact information through his underling in the junior high division. Hey, here's what you wanted. He slapped a piece of paper on my desk, his tone still as aggressive as ever. That friend of yours, Zhu Jiang, right? She's in class 3 of the second year of junior high, seems pretty popular. A lot of people like her, but, he changed his tone, frowning. I heard from my underling that she's been acting a bit strange lately. Strange? What's strange? I felt a sudden tightness in my chest. It's just, she doesn't seem to laugh as much as before. Sometimes she looks like she's smiling. But it feels forced. and her mom, that Wang something my, drives to pick her up from school every day, watching at the school gate. It feels like stalking. If she talks a bit more with her classmates, her mother's expression turns sour. My heart sank. It seems my plan of pretending to comply while secretly defying isn't going smoothly for Jude. She isn't like me. She was never born to pretend. Forcing her to put on a fake smile for someone she dislikes is worse than killing her. And what's more, Jiyu Yanchen continued, I heard that her mother signed her up for all kinds of weekend tutoring and extracurricular classes. Her schedule is packed from 8 a.m. on Saturday to 9 p.m. on Sunday, with no free time at all. Ballet, piano, math Olympiad, English, TSK. Is this meant to make her a top scholar or drive her to an early grave? Jiyu Yanchen's tone was full of sarcasm, but it made my heart race with fear. Wang Xiaomei is pushing Zhu Jiang to the brink of death. She wants to use this cramming method to smooth out all of Zhu Jiang's unruly edges. She intends to occupy all of Zhu Jiang's personal time, leaving her no opportunity to go astray. It's terrifying. Jiyu Yanchen. I called out his name. What? Could you help me with one more thing? Jiyu Yanchen's face instantly darkened. Lila Yun, don't push your luck. I've already done you a big favor by helping you gather information. Help me bring something to her. I took out a small USB drive from the drawer. Inside this, there are some street dance tutorial videos I found for her, and some audio files for psychological support. I'm afraid she won't be able to hold on by herself. Jiyu Yanchen looked at the USB drive and said nothing. His brow furrowed tightly. How will you give it to her? Her mother watches her so closely. He asked. That's where you come in, I said, looking at him. You're a big shot at the high school. Finding an excuse to go to the middle school should be easy, right? Like student council activities, club recruitment, or something like that. Jiyu Yanchen fell silent. He was probably weighing the pros and cons. Helping me with this would bring him no benefits, only risks. If the Lin family found out and reported it to Jiyu Weidong, he would definitely get an earful. I thought he would refuse, but after a moment of silence, he finally reached out and took the USB drive. What a hassle, he muttered, stuffing it into his pocket with the same impatient look. Just this once. If something like this happens again, figure it out yourself. After saying that, he once again fled in a panic. I looked at my palm, where the warmth from his fingertips seemed to linger. A certain hardened corner of my heart seemed to have cracked open a tiny fissure. On Monday, Jiyu Yanchen really did go to the junior high school division. He went to the middle school division to recruit new members under the guise of being the hip-hop club president. Of course, he wasn't actually the president. He had just made up an excuse. On the playground, in front of many people, he handed that USB drive, along with a recruitment flyer, to Zhu Jiang, who was in the middle of a physical education class. The entire process was very natural and didn't arouse anyone's suspicion. In the evening, I received a text message from Zhu Jiang. Only 2 words, received, followed by a sun emoji. My heart finally settled a little. I know, as long as the spark in her heart still exists, as long as she hasn't given up, there is still hope for everything. And I must find a way, as soon as possible, to become stronger. Strong enough to truly rescue her from that warm cage. I turned my gaze to the biography of Jiyu Weidong on the desk. Perhaps I can start from here, since Jiyu Yanchen started helping me. The relationship between us has undergone a subtle change. He no longer acts like a rooster ready to fight at any moment. Although his words still carry a sting, the hostility has noticeably diminished. He even takes the initiative to share some school gossip with me, though the focus is always on Zhu Jiang. Hey, Iceface, your friend was the center of attention at school today. As soon as he got home, he threw his backpack on the sofa and shouted at me. I was sitting on the carpet drawing. And I looked up at his words. What happened? At the school arts festival, her class was performing a choral piece, and she was originally the lead singer. But just before going on stage, she suddenly told the teacher that her throat was uncomfortable and gave the lead singing opportunity to another girl. She just stood in the group, blending in without really contributing. My heart skipped a beat. Jude has started to resist in her own way. Wang Xiaomei wanted her to be a shining, perfect daughter in front of everyone. But she refused. She would rather give up her love for singing than become Wang Xiumei's tool for showing off. What happened next? I asked. Next, her mother's face turned green with anger. Jiyu Yanchen said with glee, the art festival was open to the public, and many parents attended. Her mom was originally in the parents' seating area, ready to record with her phone. But then, ha ha ha, I saw the expression on her face at that moment. It was as priceless as if she'd swallowed a fly. I can picture that scene. Everything that Wang Xiumei had meticulously planned was destroyed by Zhu Jiang in the most reasonable way. She couldn't even get angry because Zhu Jiang's excuse was feeling unwell, such a considerate and sensible reason. Well done, I said sincerely, right? Jiyu Yanchen raised his eyebrows proudly, as if he deserved half the credit for this achievement. But I'm afraid she's going to have a hard time when she gets home. You'd better warn her. Yeah, I nodded, feeling a bit heavy-hearted. Jude's resistance would inevitably lead to Wang Xiumei's tighter control and more intense suppression. This is a long battle, and Jude is fighting it alone. I must speed up my plan. That night, instead of drawing, I entered Jiyu Weidong's study for the first time. The rule stated that entering the study was forbidden, but now, I must break this rule. No one was in the study. Jiyu Weidong hadn't returned yet. I walked over to the massive rosewood bookshelf, which was densely packed with all kinds of books, ranging from economics to philosophy, and from history to management. I found the one I had read before, the business biography about Jiyu Weidong. I pulled it out, and at the same time, I also pulled out a thick photo album that was next to it. I opened the photo album. Inside are photos of Su Wn in her youth. In the photos, she looks completely different from how she is now. She wore a simple white t-shirt and jeans, carrying a drawing board, standing in a sunflower field, smiling brighter than the sun. In her eyes, there was light. In another photo, she was wearing dirty overalls with paint smudges on her face, holding up a vividly colored painting. She made a funny face at the camera, lively and spirited. There's another one, where she stands on a street in some European town, her long hair tousled by the wind, her eyes full of freedom and defiance. I flipped through the pages one by one. In every photo, Su Wn is vibrant, lively, and full of vitality. She, too, was once a light. What made her become the way she is now? The last page of the photo album is a group photo, a young Su Wn, and an equally young man. That man is not Jiyu Weidong. He was wearing the same white t-shirt as Su Wn, his arm around her shoulder. Their heads leaning together, both smiling with pure happiness. In the lower right corner of the photo, there was a line of small text. A WN, may you always be my sunshine, Lu Chen, Lu Chen. I feel like I've heard this name somewhere. I closed the photo album, my heart racing uncontrollably. I think I've discovered an incredible secret. Just then, footsteps sounded at the door. It's Su Wn, holding a cup of milk. She froze upon seeing me in the study. Lila, what are you doing here? Her gaze fell on the photo album in my hands, and her face instantly turned deathly pale. Who told you to touch my things? Her voice suddenly turned sharp. She rushed over and snatched the photo album, clutching it tightly in her arms as if protecting some rare treasure. Her body was trembling, and her eyes were filled with fear and anger. I'm sorry. I lowered my head. I didn't mean to. Get out. She pointed at the door, her voice trembling with agitation. Get out. This was the first time she had ever been so furious with me. I didn't move. I looked at her and said softly, his name is Lu Chen, isn't it? Su Wan's body stiffened abruptly. She stared at me in disbelief, her eyes instantly bloodshot. You, how did you know? I guessed. I looked at the photo album in her arms. That starry sky painting you've been working on for 10 years in your studio. The missing brightest star, that's him, isn't it? Su Wan's lips trembled, unable to speak. The defensiveness and anger in her eyes gradually turned into boundless sorrow. Tears, without any warning, rolled down from her beautiful eyes. Holding that photo album, she slowly crouched down and buried her face in her knees. She let out a long-suppressed, beast-like wail of sorrow. I did not go to comfort her, I know. What she needed wasn't comfort, but an outlet. She cried out all the grievances, regrets, longing, and pain she had held onto for so many years. This gilded cage trapped her not only in the identity of Mrs. Gu but also in that irretrievable past. I stood quietly by her side, waiting for her to cry it all out. She cried for a long, long time before her sobs gradually subsided. She lifted her head, her eyes red and swollen, her makeup smeared, looking utterly disheveled, but in those eyes, as if washed clean, there was a glimmer of clarity. He was my college classmate, and also my first love. She began to tell her story in a hoarse voice. Speaking intermittently, she and Lu Chen were the most famous fairytale couple at the art academy. They both loved painting and dreamed of opening a studio together, traveling the world, and capturing every landscape in their art. They believed the future would be as beautiful as a painting. Until the family business of Su Wan was in crisis, on the verge of bankruptcy. To save the family, her father forced her to marry Jiyu Weidong, a rising star in the business world at the time. This was a complete business marriage. Jiyu Weidong needed the prestige and connections of the Su family to consolidate his status in high society, and the Su family needed Jiyu Weidong's money. I fought against it, Su Wan said with a bitter smile. I told Lu Chen, let's elope. Go somewhere where no one can find us. But he refused. He said he couldn't be that selfish. He couldn't stand by and watch my family end up on the streets. He said he loves me, so he wants me to be happy. He personally pushed me into Jiyu Weidong's arms. On the day of the wedding, he gave me this photo album. Then, he went abroad. I haven't seen him since then. A few years ago, I heard that he was gone in an avalanche. Su Wan's voice was calm, as if she were telling someone else's story. But I could see her hands clutching the photo album tightly, her knuckles turning white from the force. I hate him, she said. I hate him for letting go back then. I also hate myself for not having the courage to hold on until the end. After marrying Jiyu Weidong, I never picked up a paintbrush again. I feel like my world turned black and white from the moment he left. I can no longer paint anything with color. I thought this was how my life would be, until you came. She lifted her head and looked at me. The paintings you've drawn, though they are all dark and oppressive, but I can see that within the black, you've hidden something else. Your black is not lifeless, it's struggling, it's shouting. I see my younger self in your painting. I didn't expect her to say this to me. Even more unexpectedly, she had been quietly watching over me, even understanding me. Lila, she looked at me, a hint of plea in her eyes. Could you do me a favor? What goes around comes around. A few days ago, I begged Jiyu Yanchen. Today, it's Su Wan's turn to beg me. You said, help me, finish that starry sky painting. She said, I can't do it anymore, but I think you can. I don't know how to paint, I said honestly. No, you do. She looked at me steadily. Paint with your heart, just paint what you feel like painting. What to draw? Draw a star, she said, the brightest star. One that can light up the entire night sky. I looked at her, and a bold idea suddenly surged in my heart. All right, I agreed, but I have one condition. Su Wan was taken aback. Go ahead, I need your help, I said, word by word. I need you to help me get 1% of the Jiyu family company's shares from Jiyu Weidong. Su Wan's eyes widened abruptly. She probably didn't expect that I would make such an earth-shattering request. 1% of the shares. Su Wan's voice was full of shock. Lila, do you know what you're saying? The Jiyu Group is a top-tier business empire in the country, with a market value of hundreds of billions. 1% of the shares means billions in assets. This is not a number that a 12-year-old, or even an adult, would dare to mention lightly. I know, I said calmly. I know it's difficult, but aside from this, I don't know what else could truly help me stand firm. I need money. I need power, not for myself, but for Zhu Jiang. I must possess enough strength to pull her out of the quagmire of the Lin family. Only then can I ensure that our future lives are no longer at the mercy of others. And the shares of the Jiyu family are the fastest and most direct path I can think of. Su Wan looked at me with a complex expression in her eyes. She was shocked by my ambition and also by my candor. Why would you do this? She asked. For money, for freedom, I replied, for the freedom to not be controlled by anyone. To choose my own path in life, for myself, and for my friends. Freedom. Su Wan murmured the word, her gaze somewhat dazed. Wasn't this exactly what she had lost? She remained silent for a long time. So long that I thought she was going to refuse. I can't help you. She finally shook her head. A trace of weariness and helplessness on her face. Weidong won't agree. In his eyes, the company is his life. He won't give his shares to anyone, not even to me or Yanchen. I had already anticipated this. Someone like Jiyu Weidong, with such a strong desire for control, would never easily share his empire with others. I don't need you to ask him directly, I said. I just need you to help create an opportunity for me. An opportunity that will make him see my value and willingly offer me that chance. Su Wn frowned. What kind of opportunity? Has Mr. Jiyu been troubled lately by an overseas merger and acquisition case? This is the information I pieced together from the scattered documents and business magazines in Jiyu Weidong's study. Jiyu Group wants to acquire a long-established European tech company, but the negotiations have reached a deadlock. The corporate culture of the target company is very conservative and highly resistant to Jiyu Group's aggressive, barbarian approach. Su Wan's face showed a look of surprise. How did you know? I guessed. I didn't explain further. Is the founder of that company someone who really loves art, especially a collector of oil paintings? Su Wan's eyes widened more and more. She seemed to understand my intention. You want to? I want to paint a picture, I said, a painting that can move him. Then, in your name, give it to him as a gift. This is too risky. Su Wn immediately objected. Lila, this isn't child's play. This is a multi-billion-dollar business. If it goes wrong, it's Mr. Jiyu who loses, not me. I have nothing to lose anyway. I looked at her calmly. But what if it succeeds? How would he see me? A foster daughter who helped him solve a major problem. Isn't she worth a 1% stake as an investment? I'm gambling on Jiyu Weidong's nature as a businessman. In his eyes, everything is negotiable. Family bonds, marriage, all are the same. If I can demonstrate enough value, he would never be stingy. Su Wn was stunned by my words. She looked at me as if she were looking at a monster. A soul of unfathomable depth resides in a 12-year-old body. Let me think about it, she said, eventually waving her hand and walking out of the study in a daze. I knew she was tempted, because my plan wasn't just helping me, it was helping her too. If I succeed, she will be able to regain some of her voice in front of Jiyu Weidong. She will no longer be just a beautiful but useless vase. She can also use this opportunity to bid farewell to Lu Chen, using her beloved art. She will conquer what even Jiyu Weidong's wealth cannot. This is a silent victory. In the following days, Su Wan did not contact me again, but I knew she was taking action. Occasionally, I would hear her arguing with Jiyu Weidong in the room, although I couldn't make out the details. Words like art and merger case faintly drifted into my ears. Jiyu Yanchen also noticed the tense atmosphere at home. Hey, Iceface, what's up with my parents lately? They're arguing every day. Is it because of you? He looked at me suspiciously. Don't know. I continued with my drawing. TCH, it's definitely because of you. He pouted but didn't press further, just threw a beautifully packaged chocolate box at me. Here, your friend asked me to bring this to you. She said she made it herself. I opened the box to find a few misshapen pieces of chocolate inside. There was also a small note. Lila, thank you for the USB drive. The street dance is super cool. The psychological counseling audio is also very helpful. I listen to it every night before bed. This is the first time I've made chocolate, and it's a bit ugly. Please don't mind it. I'll keep trying. We'll all keep trying. I picked up a piece of chocolate and put it in my mouth. It's very sweet, sweet to the heart. Jude, you take care too. Wait for me. A few more days passed, and the opportunity finally came. That evening, Jiyu Weidong surprisingly did not work overtime and returned home very early. He called me into his study. This was the first time he formally treated me as someone he could talk to. The study was filled with the scent of expensive cigars, making it somewhat suffocating. Jiyu Weidong sat in his massive executive chair, fingers interlaced on the desk, his gaze as sharp as an eagle's. Seemingly capable of seeing through everything about me, Su Wn has told me everything. He got straight to the point. You want to trade a painting for 1% of my company's shares. His tone carried a hint of barely perceptible mockery. Not a trade. I corrected him. Proof that I have that value. Ha, what a prove your worth, he sneered. Lila Yoon, you are the most unique child I have ever seen. Your ambition is higher than the sky. Flattery. What makes you think a single painting of yours could move that stubborn old German man? He leaned forward, exuding an overwhelming presence. Do you know how many top negotiators I've sent, all of whom returned empty-handed? Do you know how much money I've spent on this case and how many connections I've used? I know. I nodded. That's exactly why you need to try a different approach. Problems that can't be solved with money and power might just be solved with art. Art, he scoffed. How much is art even worth? Art itself is not valuable, I said, but art can connect people's hearts. That gentleman, he rejected you not because the money wasn't enough, but because he felt you didn't understand him or his company. You don't understand the corporate spirit he has poured his entire life into. He sees you as just a barbarian trying to take over his business, and I can paint a picture to show him that you understand. Gu Weidong fell silent. He leaned back in his chair, his fingers unconsciously tapping on the table. He was thinking, as a top-tier businessman, he never makes a loss-making deal. Right now, he is assessing the risks and rewards of this transaction. The risk is that if I fail, he loses only some paint and time, and perhaps a bit of face. But the reward is, if I succeed, he will win a multi-billion-dollar merger and acquisition deal, and all he had to give up was a negligible 1% of the company's shares, no matter how you calculate it. This deal is a bargain, all right. After a long pause, he finally spoke. I'll give you a chance, but, he shifted his tone, his gaze growing sharper, I'm not running a charity. If you fail, you'll pay the price for all the big talk you've been spouting. What price? I asked. Get out of the GU family, he said, word by word, his voice icy and piercing. The GU family doesn't raise useless people. This was the old fox's test. Win, and you'll reach the top in one step. Lose, and you'll be back to square one. Fair enough. Okay, I agreed without hesitation, because I couldn't afford to lose. Leaving the study, Su Wn was waiting for me at the door. She looked nervous. What did he say? He agreed, I said, but he told me to get out if I fail. Su Wan's face turned pale. Lila, this is too risky. Maybe we should just forget about it. She was starting to regret it. There's no turning back once the arrow is released. I looked at her with a determined gaze. Madam, you don't want to be trapped here for the rest of your life, do you? Su Wn looked at me, her lips trembling slightly, but in the end, she said nothing. She turned and led me to her studio. In the studio, the enormous canvas that had remained blank for 10 years stood there quietly. What do you want to paint? She asked. I walked up to the canvas, reached out my hand, and gently touched the rough fabric. What do I want to draw? I want to draw a ray of light. A ray of light that can pierce through all darkness and bring hope. Madam, I turned to look at her. May I borrow the photo album of you and Mr. Lu Chen? Su Wan's body trembled slightly, but she did not refuse. Silently, she handed the photo album she had treasured for many years into my hands. I took the album and took a deep breath. Su Wan, and Lu Chen, your unfinished dreams, your lost light, I will help you find them back. Then, use it to illuminate the future for me and Jude. I locked myself in the studio for 3 whole days. For these 3 days, I didn't see anyone, including Jiu Yanchen, who came to inspect on time every day. He was stopped by Su Wn at the door, and he yelled angrily, saying that I must be up to something shady inside. I ignored him. All my attention was immersed in that old photo album and the canvas in front of me. I looked at those photos over and over again, at the young Su Wn and Lu Chen, see their unrestrained smiles under the sunlight. See the pure love for art in their eyes, see the unspoken understanding between them. They are a match made in heaven. If not for fate's cruel twist, they should have had the most beautiful life. I try to understand Lu Chen, understanding why he let go back then. It wasn't cowardice, nor was it betrayal. It was a deeper kind of love, one filled with sacrifice and selflessness. He loved Su Wan too much. So much that he couldn't bear to see her suffer with him or let her carry the burden of his family's sins. So, he chose to sever the emotional ties and push her toward a man who could offer her a stable life. He believed this was the best way to protect her. How cruel, yet how noble, I began to write. I did not paint that deep blue starry sky. What I painted were sunflowers, vast fields of sunflowers, facing the sun and growing wildly, just like the photo in the album. Where Sue WN stands in the flower field, however, the sunflowers in the painting are not golden yellow, they are ablaze, with a tragic yet resplendent beauty, as if reborn from fire. I used the boldest reds and oranges, with rough and wild brushstrokes, as if pouring all my vitality onto the canvas. And at the far end of that burning sea of flowers, where the sky meets the earth, I painted a star, a very small, yet astonishingly bright star. It was not hanging in the sky, but rising slowly from the horizon. It illuminated the entire sea of flowers, and also lit up the whole world. That was the morning star. It is the end of the night, the beginning of the day. It is Lu Chen, and it is Sue WN. It is their lost youth, and it is their undying dream. After drawing the final stroke, I stepped back a few paces and looked at the painting before me. I named it Rebirth. 3 days later, I opened the door to the studio. Sue WN and Jiyu Yanchen were both waiting at the door. When they saw me come out, Jiyu Yanchen was about to mock me, but upon seeing the painting behind me, he swallowed all his words. Sue WN was simply stunned on the spot. She looked at the painting, her eyes first filled with shock, then dawning realization, and finally, tears of relief. She didn't cry out loud, only wept silently, yet a long-lost, heartfelt smile touched the corners of her mouth. "Thank you, Lila." She walked over and, for the first time, took the initiative to hug me. "Thank you." I could feel her arms holding me, trembling slightly. I knew that the knot in her heart had finally been untied. This painting was sent to Germany by Jiyu Weidong at the fastest possible speed, along with a letter handwritten by Sue WN. What was written in the letter, I don't know. I only know that 3 days later, Jiyu Weidong returned from the company late at night and, for the first time, entered my room. I was startled awake by the sound of the door opening and saw him standing by my bed, looking at me with a complicated expression. "You win," he said, his voice carrying a hint of barely noticeable exhaustion, and with a hint of barely concealed excitement. "Mr. Schmidt has agreed to the acquisition." He said that from the painting, he saw the sincerity and the soul of our company. The heavy weight in my heart finally lifted. "What about my shares? Tomorrow, have Uncle Lee take you to handle the formalities." He looked at me as if I were a monster. "Lila Yoon, I'm curious, what on earth is going on in your head?" I didn't answer him, I just pulled up the covers and lay back down. "Mr. Jiyu, the rules state that after 10 p.m., one cannot enter someone else's room without permission." Jiyu Weidong's expression instantly became quite interesting. This was probably the first time he had been silenced by a rule he himself had set. He gave me a deep look, said nothing, and turned to leave. The next day, I became the smallest shareholder of the GU group. Although it was only 1%, it was enough for me. The first thing I did was to ask Uncle Lee to investigate the Lin family's background. Know the enemy and know yourself, and you can fight 100 battles without defeat. Li Shu is very efficient and quickly placed a detailed document in front of me. Lin Zhongwo works as a minor leader in a medium-sized state-owned enterprise. Wang Xiumei is a full-time housewife. They own 1 apartment and 1 car. With little savings, it looks like just an ordinary middle-class family. But the last page of the material made my pupil's contract. Wang Xiumei has a biological daughter. In her 20s, she ran away from home and eloped with a rock singer out of rebellion. Since then, she never came back. The documents included a photo of that daughter. She was very beautiful, with some resemblance to Wang Xiumei in her eyes and brows, but her temperament was completely different. She had a bold short haircut, with a defiant look in her eyes, full of disdain for the world. I understood instantly. Why does Wang Xiumei have such a strong desire to control Zhu Jiang? She sees the shadow of her failed daughter in Zhu Jiang. She fears that Zhu Jiang will repeat her daughter's mistakes. Therefore, she will use every means possible to keep Zhu Jiang firmly under her control, to mold her into a perfect lady who would never rebel. She wasn't raising a daughter, she was making up for her own regrets and healing her own psychological wounds. And Zhu Jiang became the innocent victim in her quest for self-redemption. So selfish, so terrifying. I was watching with a chill in my heart when Jiyu Yanchen's call came through. His voice was filled with an unprecedented urgency and anger. Lila Yun, something's happened. Your friend Ju Jiang, she's been locked up by her mother. My mind went blank with a buzzing sound, and the documents in my hand scattered all over the floor. What's going on? I heard from my little brother that the Lin family's crazy woman found the USB drive you gave to Ju Jiang. She thinks Ju Jiang has gone bad, had a big fight with her, then locked her in her room, not letting her go out. Not even allowing her to go to school. She also said she wants to contact the welfare institution, saying that Ju Jiang has serious problems and she wants to return her. The words return her felt like a needle, sharply piercing my heart. Is the nightmare from the previous life about to repeat itself? No, I absolutely won't allow it. She also contacted a fully enclosed boarding school, that kind of prison-like hellhole. She said she wants to send Ju Jiang there to discipline him properly. The blood in my entire body rushed to my head in an instant. Wang Xiumei, she's gone mad. She's pushing Jude to the brink of despair. Lila, are you listening? Jiyu Yanchen anxiously called out from the other end of the phone. I'm here. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. Jiyu Yanchen, do me one last favor. Tell me, help me rescue her. Now, immediately, right away. How? We can't just barge in and snatch her, can we? No. I looked out the window, my gaze turning icy. We're going to invite her out. I picked up my phone and dialed Uncle Lee's number. Uncle Lee, help me arrange something. I want to do this as a shareholder of the GU Group. I will formally visit Mr. Lin Zhongwo to discuss the future investment plan for his daughter, Ju Jiang. Uncle Lee on the other end of the phone was taken aback for a moment, but quickly replied respectfully, Yes, Miss Wang Xiumei, don't you think your daughter is your masterpiece? Then let me show you how much this masterpiece is worth now. Don't you want to control her life? Then I will rightfully buy her life back from your hands. This time, I won't let anyone hurt my little son again. Half an hour later, 3 black Mercedes-Benz cars stopped at the entrance of the Lin family's residential complex. I got out of the car in the middle, a small black suit, which I had Uncle Lee specially prepare. Jiyu Yanchen followed by my side, also changed into a formal suit, his expression more serious than ever before. Uncle Lee led 4 bodyguards dressed in black suits and sunglasses, following behind us. This scene caught the attention of the neighbors in the community, making them turn their heads. We went straight upstairs and knocked on the Lin family's door. The door was opened by Lin Zhongwo. He was completely stunned by the scene at the door. Who are you? Mr. Lee stepped forward, handing over his business card with a steady voice. Mr. Lin, hello. We are from the GU Group. This is our company's new shareholder, Miss Lila Yun. Miss Yun would like to discuss with you and your wife about the future of your daughter, Miss Ju Jiang. The GU Group, a shareholder. Lin Zhongwo's hand trembled as he held the business card, clearly overwhelmed by the prestigious name. He stammered as he invited us in. Wang Xiumei was sitting in the living room, looking haggard. She seemed startled when she saw us enter. Are you looking for Jude? She's sick and resting in her room, she said, her eyes darting away, clearly lying. I ignored her and walked straight to the sofa to sit down, my gaze sweeping across this cozy home. On the wall hang photos of Ju Jiang, each one showing her in a beautiful princess dress, smiling like a doll. Mr. Lin, Mrs. Lin, I'll get straight to the point. I placed a document on the coffee table and pushed it toward them. Our GU Group recently launched a Genius Youth Development Program, aimed at discovering and nurturing talented children in various fields. We provide them with the best educational resources and development platforms. After our evaluation, we believe that Miss Ju Jiang has exceptional talent in the arts, especially in dance. We hope to include her in this program. Lin Zhongwo and Wang Xiumei looked at each other, clearly not understanding what I meant. What exactly is this program? Lin Zhongwo asked cautiously. Specifically, I looked at them and said, word by word. We will cover all of Miss Ju Jiang's tuition and living expenses from now until she graduates from university. We will send her to the best art institutions abroad for further studies and hire top-tier mentors for her. In return, after completing her studies, she will need to work for the GU Group's entertainment company for 10 years. I paused for a moment and dropped the bombshell. Of course, to show our sincerity, after the contract is signed, we will first pay a nurturing fee to both of you as a reward for your years of hard work raising Jude. I placed a check on top of the documents. 5 million. Fee, 5 million. Lin Zhongwo and Wang Xiumei exclaimed in unison, their eyes fixed on the check, their breathing becoming rapid. 5 million was an astronomical figure that their ordinary family could never earn in a lifetime. Is this real? Wang Xiumei's voice trembled. Of course, I nodded, as long as you agree to let Jude join our plan and fully entrust her custody to us. Custody? Wang Xiumei's face instantly changed. No. Jude is my daughter. I can't give her to you. She finally showed her true colors. Mrs. Lin, I said coldly, staring at her, are you sure you see her as a daughter? And not as a private possession to satisfy your need for control? What nonsense are you talking? She seemed to have been struck on a sore spot and screamed. Nonsense, I sneered, throwing another document Uncle Lee had found in front of her. Your own biological daughter ran away from home because of your controlling nature and has been missing without a trace ever since. Now, are you trying to repeat the same tragedy with Jude? How could you know? Wang Xiumei's face instantly drained of color, as if she had seen a ghost. You locked Jude up, forced her to drop out of school, and even wanted to send her to one of those so-called correctional schools. Isn't that the truth? My voice grew colder. What you call for her own good is nothing but using love as an excuse to cause harm. You don't deserve to be a mother at all. I didn't. I did it all for her own good. She wouldn't listen. She's gone astray, Wang Xiumei shouted emotionally. She just wants to learn the dance she loves, wear the clothes she likes, and laugh more genuinely. Is that what you call going astray? I stood up, looking down at her from above. Wang Xiumei, you don't love her at all. You only love the puppet you control. Just then, with a loud bang, a bedroom door was slammed open from the inside. Ju Jiang rushed out. Her face was pale, her hair disheveled, and her eyes were red and swollen, but within them burned a flame of anger. You're right. She pointed at Wang Xiumei, her voice trembling with emotion. You never asked me what I wanted. All you know is to pressure me. Pressure me. I am not your tool. Jude. Seeing Ju Jiang come out, I immediately went up to greet her. Lila, when she saw me, she could no longer hold back her tears, which burst forth like a broken dam, and she hugged me tightly. Don't be afraid, I'm here. I held her tightly, patting her back. I'm here to take you home. Outrageous. This is simply outrageous. Wang Xiumei, watching us embrace, trembled with anger all over. Ju Jiang, I've raised you for so long, and this is how you treat me. You ungrateful wretch. Enough. Lin Zhongwo, who had been silent all along, suddenly roared. He looked at his wife, who seemed to have gone mad, then glanced at the $5 million check, his face showing an expression of extreme inner conflict. In the end, greed overcame reason. He picked up the pen and signed his name on the document. Let her go, he said to Wang Xiumei, his voice filled with exhaustion. Wang Xiumei looked at him in disbelief. Zhongwo, you, 5 million, with this money, we'll have everything, Lin Zhongwo said with red eyes. As for the daughter, we can have another obedient one. Wang Xiumei was completely stunned. She looked at her husband as if she were meeting him for the first time. I took Ju Jiang's hand and, without another glance at that despicable couple, turned and walked away. Jiu Yanchen followed behind us. And before leaving, he glanced back at the disheartened Wang Xiumei and sneered, serves you right. Stepping out of that suffocating building, the sunlight outside was just right. Ju Jiang looked up at the sky and took a deep breath, as if trying to inhale all the fresh air into her lungs. Lila, she turned to look at me. Tear stains still on her face, but she showed an incredibly bright smile. I'm free. Yeah, I nodded with a smile. You're free now, back at the GU residence. Su Wn and GU Weidong were both there. Seeing me bring Ju Jiang back, they weren't too surprised. Su Wn walked over and gently patted Ju Jiang's head. Good child, from now on, treat this place as your own home. Ju Jiang was somewhat flattered and whispered, thank you, Auntie. Jiu Weidong glanced at me with a look in his eyes that I couldn't quite decipher. Good job, he only said these 4 words before heading upstairs. In the evening, I arranged for Ju Jiang to stay in the room next to mine. That room, I had already asked Uncle Lee to redecorate it according to Jude's preferences. The walls were painted a bright lemon yellow, with large floor-to-ceiling windows, and the windowsills were filled with sunflowers. Wow! Ju Jiang exclaimed as soon as she entered. Lila, it's so beautiful here. It's like a little sun palace. She threw herself onto the soft big bed and happily rolled around, seeing her regain her vitality. I was genuinely happy from the bottom of my heart. Jude, I walked to her bedside and sat down. From now on, whatever you want to learn, go and learn it. Wear whatever you want to wear, laugh however you want to laugh. No one can control you anymore. She nodded vigorously, her eyes sparkling. Lila, you too. From now on, we'll always be together, never to part again. Alright, we'll never part. We lay on the same bed, just like when we were kids in the orphanage, whispering secrets to each other. Lila, you're amazing. Jude turned on his side, looking at me. You're like a heroine, saving me from the bad guys. I smiled and said, I'm not a heroine, I just don't want to see you get hurt again. That Jiu Yanchen doesn't seem so bad after all, she added. He looked quite handsome today. An image of Jiu Yanchen in a suit, looking serious, popped into my mind, and I couldn't help but laugh. Yeah, that bully really seems to have changed. The moonlight outside the window gently spills in. In this lifetime, Ju Jiang and I have finally walked out of our respective cages. I know there is still a long road ahead. The Jiu family is still not a harbor full of love, it is more like a resource-rich supply station where we temporarily dock. But it's okay, as long as we are together, anywhere can be home. I look at Ju Jiang, who is already asleep beside me, a sweet smile still on her face. I gently lean over and plant a kiss on her forehead. Good night, my little sunshine, in this lifetime. Let us all be well and walk together towards that truly bright future.